know that many of you here will remember the work of my predecessor, Sir David Amess. He was an absolute champion for the cause of freedom in Iran, and I know that he will be sorely missed by many of you here. So it's a huge honour for me to step into his shoes and be part of this noble movement. It's an honour for me to have met Maryam Rajavi online at many conferences now in the British Parliament, and it's an honour for me to play my part in helping Iran to build a new democratic future. Because let's not beat about the bush. What is happening at the moment inside Iran is evil. And all that it takes for evil to prevail is for good men and women to stay silent. Well, I know I speak for all of you here today in saying we will not stay silent about what is going on in Iran, and we are not staying silent in the UK Parliament. But my interest in Iran actually goes back a long way. My aunt, who is now in her 80s, left South Essex, where I come from, to go travelling in her 20s. She got as far as Iran, where she fell in love with a beautiful country. And of course, not long after that, with a beautiful Iranian man. And they made their life there and lived there very happily for 2 decades. But then in 1979, they were forced to flee with all of their country, and they have barely been back since. I saw the photos as a child, and I longed to go to Iran, but I never got that opportunity because of the revolution. But I saw from the photos that women were dressed as we are today, in Western dress. Women were encouraged to go to university back then. Women were working back then. Women were even female MPs. And for me, it is shocking how much Iran has gone backwards. In 40 years, it's as if it's gone back 400 years and become a medieval state. So I hope that today we will send a clear message to the Iranian regime that we will not be bowed by their threats. The more they attempt to influence our governments to curtail our right to free speech, our right to freedom of assembly, the more we will fight back, and the more we will intensify our efforts to support the people of Iran. And I'm delighted to hear about the success that the organisers of the conference have had today in preserving that right to assembly right here in Paris. Because while some governments today attempt to appease the Iranian regime, in the UK, we believe the world must hear the truth. Young men and women massacred, protesters arrested and raped, bodies returned to families with such horrific injuries, the murders are unrecognisable. The crimes are so horrific that it sickens us to hear them read out loud. The images are so shocking that we try to wipe them from our memory. But that is the regime we are facing, and that is the regime some governments are intent on appeasing. And that is why our job today and on all days is so important. We must be the voice of the people of Iran, because the people of Iran are the people who will win this war. Because a war is exactly what this is. Not a war by an enemy seeking to take your land, but an enemy that seeks to take away from an entire population every single individual right and freedom. Rights and freedom that we take for granted in the West. I have 3 young people. 2 of them are young girls. They're in their 20s now. I take for granted that they can go, they can wear what they like, they can protest, they can take up the causes which they wish. I take for granted that I can speak up in the UK Parliament against this evil regime without fear that I will be followed home, abducted and murdered. And these are rights and freedom that the women and the people of Iran deserve to have as well. We are standing on the side of good against evil. We've heard recently the scale of executions carried out by the regime. We've seen the regime taking hostages to use as tools in political games. We've seen the regime intensifying its efforts to obtain nuclear weapons and other missile capabilities. All signs, I suggest, of a crumbling regime, desperately clinging to power via any means possible. And let's be in no doubt, this regime is crumbling. It's a regime that will portray its actions as strength, but that lacks any form of credibility. We know that a huge proportion of Iranian society now lives in poverty, whilst under the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, and other senior officials plunder the nation's wealth. However, in the face of the regime's brutality, the protest movement continues to flourish. In every area of the country and every walk of life, Iranians bravely protest on a daily basis. Whether in the form of strikes, gatherings, or otherwise, the movement for democratic change is growing, and the role played by the Iranian opposition is significant. Resistance units inside Iran work to organise this movement, grow its popularity, and show the world that there is a democratic alternative to this regime. And that democratic alternative is embodied in Maryam Rajavi's 10-point plan for a future Iran. Seeing the support that the 10-point plan has received over recent months has been incredible. There almost hasn't been a week that goes by without the announcement of another parliamentary majority supporting the cause or another former world leader backing the true democratic alternative future for Iran. The Iranian people want change. They want a democratic republic built on the principles of freedom and democracy embodied in the 10-point plan, and they reject any attempt to derail their efforts with fake alternatives. This is not a nation and a people that wants to return to another form of dictatorship. It is a nation and a people intent on real change, a system built on freedom and equality. The people of Iran are fighting with energy, with courage, with bravery that is insurmountable. They're soldiers and a generation that will be forever remembered. Executions, rape and torture will not silence this revolution. There's a saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, the going is tough, but boy, are those young men and women in Iran showing how they can get going. Let's go forward. Let's go forward. Free Iran 2023. Onwards we go. Thank you.